Haven't you always wanted to have that Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator vision? Well, now you can with this brand new thermal optic from Athlon Optics.
You son of a...
Hey, what's going on everyone? My name is Lucas Spencer with Stock Artist. In this video, I will be overviewing the Cronus ATS 50-640 thermal optic by Athlon Optics. As a disclaimer, Athlon did send me this thermal to review as part of an expert voice program. However, this will still be my honest review about this thermal. So let's go ahead and jump into it. The bag itself is actually pretty nice with a rugged texture and padded panels. Inside, we have everything organized with these padded inserts that you can move around and adjust via hook and loop. For the items themselves, we have some 30mm scope ring mounts, 2 external batteries, charging station with Type-C cable, micro HDMI cable, and then one thing I have never seen a company do was include different plugs for a power adapter. And then lastly, we have the rubber eyepiece and a product warranty card, as well as a quick start guide. And then of course this bad boy right here. The build quality on this thing is superb. For some specs, here's what we're looking at. Magnification is 2.36 by 18.9. Display resolution is 1440 by 1080. Objective diameter is a 50mm. Sensor resolution is 640 by 480 at 12 microns. Lens system is a 50mm f1. Length is 14.7 inches. Noise equivalent temperature difference is less than or equal to 25 millikelvin at 77 degrees. Field of view is 8.8 by 6.6 degrees. And for weight, we have 35.3 ounces. I love the more traditional scope look to this thermal because when compared to other high-end thermals, they can be very blocky looking and a lot larger for no real additional benefits. I chose to use a QD scope mount because I wanted to store the thermal in its original bag when I wasn't using it. This also made charging the internal battery a little easier. When it comes to the image quality of this thermal, I was very pleased with the picture. You have great details when you are on the lower magnification scanning, and when it comes to using that full 18.9 digital zoom, I found that in most scenarios, you start to lose some details on the animal. That's just the nature of a digital zoom. However, you can still see a clear contrast when it comes to a subject with a contrasting temperature. Starting at the back, we get a diopter adjustment. On the side, we have a USB-C port for charging the internal and external battery, or even running an additional power supply if you are going to be using a lot of juice. Next to that, we have a micro HDMI. If you want to run this to an external monitor, you have that option. On the top, we have the power button and shutter button to manually record or capture images. Down where the turrets are, we have the menu button on top. The menu system I found to be very easy to use. In this video, I won't go super deep into all the settings because that would probably add another 10 minutes to this video. However, I will be doing a more in-depth menu video on this thermal soon. So be sure to follow Stock Artist on all of our social channels so that when I come out with it, you will be notified. So let's get back to it. With a long press of the menu button, the full menu itself is laid out very clean and organized. I was able to find what I was looking for pretty quickly without having to get too deep into the settings in order to change things. On the left side of the turret, you have your digital zoom with a rotation of the turret, or you can press the side and it will do a quick zoom. On the right, you have your battery cover and the location you will add an external battery to. The scope will run off of the external battery first, then once that goes dead, the internal battery will take over. Then lastly, up front, we have the focus ring and lens cap. I do wish they also included a rear lens cap because I don't really use the rubber eyepiece that it comes with, and I'd like to still protect both ends of the thermal when transporting. The nice thing about using a thermal over night vision is that if you want to hunt or shoot during the day, you still have that option. Now let's go ahead and jump into the sight-in process of this thermal. So when it comes to shooting a thermal at the range, you'll need to find some creative ways to create a temperature change on your target. Now there are a million ways you can do this. The most common way is to tape aluminum foil to some cardboard and then use electrical tape to make a crosshair. Position it slightly facing the sky and this will provide with a great contrasting target. I have this set up at 100 yards. That's what we'll be shooting today. So let's go see what that looks like in the thermal. So as you can see, this is the picture we get through the thermal. Depending on the temperature and the terrain you'll be using this, you may want to cycle through the different color palettes to find the best heat contrast. You can easily change the color palette with just a twist of the menu knob at the top. I find that for this situation, Blackhot provides me with the best picture. Again, there are a lot more settings we can change to adjust our picture overall, but for this video, I'll just be sticking to the basics. Next, we want to make sure that the zero calibration matches the distance we'll be shooting out to. To find this, we can short press the menu button at the top, and that will bring us to our shortcut menu. Scroll all the way over to zero calibration, short press, and select range. And for today, I will be shooting at 100. Next, let's long press the menu button to activate the main menu. Go to the reticle configuration and assign a letter to a profile configuration. Just real quick about that, you have up to 10 different profile configurations you can load if you are changing ammo types or even changing the rifle it goes on. Then you can select the reticle you like, reticle color, and reticle brightness. After we have all that changed to how we like it, let's go ahead and take our first shot to establish an impact. All right, so I felt pretty good about that shot, so let's go see where my impact was. So since I wasn't able to see my impact back at the rifle, what I'm gonna do is take some electrical tape and just create another little cross mark right here, and that will give us a good reference back at the rifle. So let's go ahead and throw some tape on it. Now for the easy part. Let's go ahead and bring up our main menu with the long press of the menu button, scroll over to zeroing settings, short press to select, scroll down to 100 yards, short press, and now here is the cool part. The reticle zoomed in, we can hold dead center on the target, and with that menu button, just give it a slight twist to freeze the image. Now we can move our X and Y axis, keeping in mind this will be moving the reticle, so we want to move it in the direction of the impact. Select confirm, and now that is your one-shot zero. So overall, I found that the zeroing process of this thermal was very, very simple to do. In comparison to other thermal scopes similar to this one price point wise, the Cronus ATS 50-640 excelled at having a better magnification range, better display resolution, and better detection range. Not to mention there were very few that had a built-in battery as well as a secondary battery. Most of their specs and features were very similar, like field of view, refresh rate, etc., etc. For the pros and cons, let's go ahead and start with the cons and end on a good note with the pros. For the cons, I only have a few, and they are a little nitpicky because trying to find cons was actually kind of hard. For the first, I will say this thermal looks strikingly similar to another brand's thermal that is around the same price. The build, the button locations, the connection ports, it all looks the same. So it makes me kind of wonder if this was a rebranded thermal by Athlon and not an original design by Athlon. For the second one, the scope does have a pretty cool feature to auto record. However, there was a stand my dad and I were on when we were calling coyotes. We called the double in and I ended up shooting both of them. However, the scope did fail to register the shots and record, and I thought maybe I had forgot to change the settings. However, when I went back and looked at the settings, sure enough, I did have them set to auto record when it detects a shot, so I was pretty bummed that I didn't end up getting that footage. Since shooting this overview, Athlon released a firmware update which added a sensitivity adjustment to the auto record. So since my rifle doesn't have a lot of recoil, plus the tripod absorbing most of the recoil, I can now raise the sensitivity, and that should fix the auto record issue I was having. And lastly, the price tag is not nice to your wallet. So for that, I say buy once, cry once, because you are paying for an all-around top-tier thermal if you are serious about night calling or pest management. Getting into the pros, I will say there are many, but here are my top pros. Number one is the ease of use. Before I even read the instructions, I started to mess around with it, like I'm sure we all do when we get new toys, right? And I did find that I was able to navigate through the menu pretty easily. One of the nights I went out with a friend of mine who has a thermal, and when I was looking through his and trying to adjust some of the settings, it was definitely confusing as to what buttons do what and how to make a simple brightness change. Second, I will say that I love the traditional look and size of the thermal. Some of them, like my buddies, kind of look like a Mack truck sitting on top of your rifle, and nobody wants that extra weight. So the size, aesthetics, and the weight was pretty nice as well. A big one was the quality of the image. You get a nice high resolution OLED display. And lastly, I think it's worth mentioning that this thermal paired with Athlon's thermal app works flawlessly. It seems like most products that also have a Wi-Fi connection capability to an app are always kind of finicky, and the app's not the best. The Athlon thermal app and the Cronus ATS connect very fast. There's very low latency with the live view, and the media from the thermal loads very quickly on the app when you want to play something back. That's the quick pros and cons I have for this thermal. So who is this thermal good for? Well, I think if you're a serious predator or varmint hunter, keyword being serious, or again, someone who wishes they had Arnold Schwarzenegger predator vision, I think this thermal is for you. If you're looking for a more affordable thermal, then I would say check out Athlon's Cronus ATS 35 to 400 thermal. That will still give you some awesome nighttime capabilities and features at a lower cost. Overall, I would definitely recommend this thermal optic to anyone who is comfortable with firearms, looking to dominate the night and become more successful pelt harvester or bacon eater. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below. Be sure to follow Stock Artist on Instagram and be on the lookout for more videos I'll be putting out about this thermal. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.